It's about on a day-to-day basis, why does this evil keep happening? And I'm sorry, but the answer is not because there are evil people and we have to throw them in prison. You've been doing that. We're staring another war in the face. You've been doing that. It didn't help.
I feel like any subject we talk about that isn't like related to literally suffering and anything, it doesn't really hit home right now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like to go from a conversation we're talking about literally like people getting to the point where they're sadistic in a war that's happened for 2 days. I feel like discussing what my next 5 years are going to be like. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, no, I understand you.
Like, it's like I'm trying to think now where any of my problems that I want boot camping, and I'm like, they seem minimal.
Well, I think that's the issue is that by viewing them as minimal, you sort of get rid of this cause effect correlation between, like, people are a bit shocked right now with what's happening. I can honestly say that I'm not, because it's like, okay, so yeah, there's some videos going around now that people are being sadistic, but were they not sadistic before?
Yeah,
they were. It just wasn't in the public eyes. And did this evil not exist inside of people? It does. It just also was hidden. You know, like it's like a free pass now to do whatever you want in a situation like that. And then that's where people's evil becomes apparent and it comes to the surface. I think I use the example, like when you sit with someone, it's like you always want to tell them the good things about you. You never want to reveal the bad things about you. So we hide these things. You know, if you have a bad thought about someone, you're not going to go telling everyone, like, you know, I met someone this morning, I thought they were really stupid. Like, even if you say that to your close friend, it's not like you're going to go, like, for example, post a status on Instagram, like, I met someone this morning, I thought they were really stupid. Like, everyone's going to be like, what's wrong with you? You're a bad person. Like, why are you posting that? But we do have these thoughts. We just never share our bad thoughts. And it's the same thing with, you know, actions and feelings and all these dark desires that we have. We just hide them. And then, yeah, they come out and everyone's in shock. Well, what's changed since World War II?
Yeah.
Has anything changed? No, the people who went through World War II are now gone. And we don't even, you know, we research it. We can go back, look at movies, read books and this and that, but we can't feel what they went through, you know? So if this was now happening in a time where people had experienced World War II, that would stop it from happening again, because it's like you learn by, you know, putting your hand on the stove. It's hot. You're not going to put your hand on it again. But we've passed now another generation. We've forgotten. And nothing's actually changed since then.
Yeah, it's like no one's left that can actually remind us of a time when it was like this. So there's nobody like that can really predict the actions of what's going to come. Because I think if you could bring back everybody pre-World War II and show them now, the correlations are too undeniable.
Yeah,
for everybody.
Crazy. It's like history repeating
way
itself.
too undeniable. Like you can't look at it from the point of view of like, well, this is a new thing. This has never happened before. Like, wow, this is such a weird thing it's like it's happened before. And I think as you progress, you know, when you're looking at the evil within people, like, that is kind of the reason why this has happened. It's not because everybody was suddenly nice on Monday morning and on Tuesday morning everybody suddenly became evil. It wasn't like a switch in the head where it was like, oh, okay, yeah, we're good today, tomorrow we're going to be evil. It's always there.
It's always there, yeah.
It's always there.
Okay, honestly, we went wrong, and this will just tie right back to the truth behind altruism video, which is the inherent flaw in us. It's like, where did we go wrong is forgetting that evil exists because it doesn't exist for us. And if we talk about the bad that we do to each other, right now what's happening in the world is the same bad that happens on a day-to-day basis that's happened for the past 100 years. It's just happening on a much grander scale, like country versus country. But what is a country? A country is a group of people, and another country is a group of people. So how is that any different from a person doing something bad to another person?
Well, it's no different.
Yeah, do we not go into people's houses? Are there people in this world? There's you know, burglars. Are there not?
Yeah.
There's murderers. There's rapists. There's everything. how is that on a small scale any different to that on a large scale?
Well, on a large scale, it's even worse, because on a large scale, when you've got an entire population of people, each one of those people has their own evil, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
And then presented with the opportunity where they can present that evil in a way that seems legitimate, because it's a war, or it's worse, because person to person there's limitations.
Well, it depends in what way. Again, we can't really have blanket statements. Like, what does it mean for it to be worse?
In my mind, not worse in the sense that it's a worse action, if you see what I mean, but it's worse because the scale of it is much larger.
Yeah, so in like the result of it.
Yeah.
It's like more people will die, and yeah. But if you look at the intention behind it and the cause of it, it's the same thing. It's the same evil that exists on a day-to-day basis. It's just because it hasn't been happening to us, and I say us as like a percentage, I don't know what percentage, but it hasn't been happening to us, so we've been living our day-to-day lives. But now that we see this thing happening on a large scale, we can't help but see it. But every single day that we've lived for the past 100 years, there's been terrible crimes happening. We just don't care. We just don't care because it's not happening to us. And when it does happen to us, we do care. But, you know, we struggle to do anything about it. So we throw people in prison. But where did this all begin? How do we keep having these people coming? And it's not just like what's happening now, what happened in World War II and World War I. No, it's not about that. It's about on a day-to-day basis, why does this evil keep happening? And I'm sorry, but the answer is not because they're evil people and we have to throw them in prison. You've been doing that. We're staring another war in the face. You've been doing that. It didn't help.
At all. It hasn't solved any problem at all.
The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and 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 over again and expecting a different result.
But the result is always going to be the same.
It's always the same. That's why I'm really not shocked. I mean, we've been together for the past few weeks here, and I'm sure you've seen that. I haven't had any shock as to what's happening, and that's because you have to look at cause and effect. It's like people saying this shouldn't happen a lot of people have been saying this. This shouldn't happen in 2022.
But what does that really mean?
That's delusion on the highest level. What do you mean? What do you actually mean? Have we been living in a glorious world for the past 10 years?
No, definitely not.
Or is it just that you've been so blind to everything happening in the world, and you think the world is a beautiful world and a great world, an amazing world, because you choose to look at what you want to look at? Like, seriously, it's beyond me.
But you don't think it's interesting, most people's reactions to this type of thing? Like, this is a very visual way of depicting that, if you see what I mean, of seeing good and evil, right? But people's reactions haven't been congruent at all. Like, on one hand, we'll have someone's a psychopath, you can't do this, and on the other hand, it's let's make a meme about it. Like, let's not take it seriously. Do you see what I mean? Whereas that is the culture that we have now created, if you see what I mean. A situation that is ridiculously serious has been made a joke of by people who can't put themselves in the shoes of somebody on the other side of the fence.
If you actually look at the people making the jokes, and if we could do a study on this, it'd be so easy to prove. Like, who are the people that are not taking this seriously, taking it as a joke, making memes about it? The people who aren't there.
Yeah.
Why? Because they're not going through it.
It affects them in no way right now.
And this is so obvious to people, but people don't really accept it. We need to accept it. There is an inherent flaw in us, that we're selfish. The same evil has been going on for a long time. It's just on a larger scale now. But no one cared before.
But their lack of caring led to this moment, though. Because if everybody had the mindset that they could see the cause and effect of history and could see the cause and effect of people, then like in your case, you weren't shocked because you understood that it was almost inevitable based on the actions of the last, like you said, like 100 years. Things have been happening. But we choose to live in our little bubble worlds of we're fine here just because they're not okay over here. It doesn't affect me.
I think this goes back to the mindset to result. And basically the mindset to result is the cause and effect of people in a way, is that what we tend to do as human beings is always look at the result, what's happening, like the actions and the results. But what lies behind an action? But behind an action is an approach, is a plan. This plan comes from your thoughts, right? So you start thinking about something, you come up with your conclusions, and using your conclusions, you start coming up with a plan. And then you take action, and then there's a result. Now, what comes before the thoughts?
Mindset, like how you're thinking those
Your
things.
mindset, your worldview, your desire, like that is the root, the foundation. And this root of egoism has existed for so long, since the beginning. And people don't look at the root. And we honestly, we do this in day-to-day life all the time. It's not just about evil. We always look at the results. We always look at what happens as a result. Even in sports, we'll look at the results.
Yeah, I mean, I do this in my own life. At the end, like I was recently thinking about the future of like myself, my family, things like this, right? And I realized all I was looking at was the result, like things I had to do to get the result. But I wasn't thinking about like the mindset of, particularly in relation to like my daughter. I was always looking at the end game, the result of I need to do this for this, for this. It wasn't like the question that I had originally was how to be a good parent, right? But then the question was how to be the right parent. And it wasn't about the result. Then it was about the day-to-day. It was about learning. It was about applying my mindset to actually be in the moment, rather than looking at just the end game, the result 18 years from now. That's what I was thinking, 18 years from now. What do I need from here to 18 years from now? But it's irrelevant, because I was completely bypassing everything in the middle. I was where I am now and 18 years from now, and then trying to make things fit together in that gap, and not thinking about it at all. There was no mindset in it. It was all result-based, and we do that day-to-day basis. Sports is a very good one. Like, I will check the results of a football game, but I might not watch the game, but I will base my entire analysis on that game, on the result.
Yeah.
It was 2-1, oh, we lost. But you might have watched the game, and you'd be like, yeah, but it was the best game we'd ever played.
Yeah, well, I think football is a good example, because they'll always say the result is what matters. And let's say your favorite team wins, and you'll be more calm, collected, and you watch the highlights. But when you don't win, you start thinking what went wrong.
Yeah.
So is it just when you don't win that you should look at what went wrong? No, when you win, maybe you got lucky. So you should always look at the performance and everything behind it. And this is the cause and effect. And we can do this in job interviews as well. If you don't get the job that you want, you just look at I didn't get the job, or I got fired, or I got hired. It's always the results. Always the results. We don't look at what happened beforehand. And this is the same thing we do in terms of evil. We look at a person and what they do, and we look at their action, and then we'll correlate the action to the person. You're evil. Yeah, okay, the result was evil. I agree. But the person is not the result. The person is the thoughts behind, the approach behind, and the mindset behind. His worldview is behind it. Now, how do we keep getting to a point where people do these things? It's very easy to say that the person is evil and throw them away. But why did it happen?
The evil keeps happening because you got to look back through history of the biggest tyrants, if you like, the biggest people that we look at and automatically just say they were evil, right? So your Hitlers, your Stalins, your Maos of the world, right? We look at them and you don't dig under the surface very much, right? Someone will tell you what happened in World War II with Hitler and with Stalin, and it's only about the result. Every single time. It's only this many people died. This many people were involved in the conflict. This many countries were involved. It's not like nobody really asked the question, what led to that moment?
Yeah. So if I can just quickly jump in, right? So you're talking about the result right now. Now, if we take it a step back, we talk about the action. Well, there was invasions, and there was battles, different battles, and obviously a war. And then we take it a step back to approach, right? And that's obviously the planning that came beforehand. It's not like one day they woke up and decided to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
And then there was the thoughts, and then behind that was the mindset. What similarities do you see in the mindset? And what was the issue in the mindset that led to this?
I think the issue in the mindset, the similarities between World War II and now, were the fact that a country has decided to take another country back, right? Hitler's first invasions were taking countries back II, that he thought after World War I were technically Germany, but after the split, they were given to other countries. So the Czech Republic had areas of Germany given to them, Austria had areas given to them. So Hitler's mindset at the beginning, and why the beginning of World War II was so difficult with diplomacy and everybody saying don't do this, don't do that, and then giving him an inch and him taking a mile, was he believed his mindset was he's simply taking something back that was already belonged to him. It was living space. It was Germany. He wasn't so much invading another country as taking back what was his, right? The similarity now is Putin is doing a very similar thing with Eastern Europe. Like, if you look at most of Eastern Europe, there is always some element of some kind of theory that Russia has slight control over it, right? Like puppet dictators and random like opposition leaders that are somehow loyal to Russia, right? One of the countries that isn't particularly loyal is Ukraine, apart from separatist areas. And what did Putin do at the beginning? He took back the separatist areas under the pretense that they wanted to be Russia. So they gave it back he took it, but was that all that he wanted? Because that's where he said he would stop, no? Same with Hitler said he would stop in Czechoslovakia. Have either of them stopped at where they said they would stop? No. Because their mindset is it's their country, it's their right, it's their God-given will to take back what is theirs. But that's purely from a completely maniacal, egotistical point of view, because it's not theirs.
Egotistical.
Yeah.
It's crazy how it all comes down to egoism. It's like that is mine. And people I don't like how people look at these situations and try to just overcomplicate it. Yeah, I get there's I get there's politics and everything involved in it, but it's not that complicated. Because that's why I said that I wasn't shocked, because it happens on a day-to-day basis between one person and another person. How is that different from a country and a country? Is it not people and people? So when we're talking about one person versus one person, it's different from 5 against 5 or 100 against 100 and a million versus a million. It's the same, because we're human beings. We're human beings. We have the same mentalities. So it all comes back to egoism, and that's why we made the video and we said our inherent flaw is that we are egotistical beings. And we have to accept that. And as long as you're condemning one leader or another leader or another leader, it's always going to keep happening. And as long as you're condemning all these people that you view as criminals and terrorists and this and that, and you put them in jails and prisons and you condemn them, it's always going to keep happening. And that's why I wasn't shocked, I wasn't surprised. Because what's the inherent flaw? It's the egoism. What's the cause of all this? Egoism. We just said it. With the Russian Ukraine and with Germany and Hitler, it was the same thing. It was the exact same thing. It was the same mentality.
And they both had huge. You can even on a psychological and physical sense, you can say they both had massive egos. Look at the speeches that they give. Look at the kind of mannerisms they have around other world leaders. Like they're not humbled people. Do you see what I mean? They're not a leader elected by the people to serve the people. That's not even in their mind. It's all about them. Like, it's all about their own will to dominate to a degree. It's about their own will to their own egotistical mindset that what their truth is the truth. They both have the same mindsets. That Hitler's truth was his truth. Putin's truth is his truth.
You can't even say that. That the issue is as well, Tay, is that we can't even say that because it's like, oh, you're justifying.
Yeah, exactly. But you're not.
It's ridiculous.
You can't ignore the correlations. You can't ignore the fact that you're looking at 100 odd years apart. A situation is repeating itself, literally repeating itself. It's no different. It's no different with World War II, where any of the invasions like planned out, and it was like, oh, that was a huge shock. Everything was staggered. You could see when things were coming.
You know what it is as well? We cannot solve a problem unless we recognize the problem. As long as we talk about the problem being one person or one mentality, or we talk about the problem being a bunch of politics or a political mindset, then we can never actually solve the real problem. And so long as we pick these different, I guess, branches, and we say that that's the problem, yeah, we can move past it, but then the same problem appears somewhere else. it's like, okay, well, it wasn't this leader that was the problem. Now it's this leader. Now it's that leader. Or now it's this political mindset, and now it's that political mindset, and it's always something else because we're looking at the branches, but it's branches of the same tree, right? What we need to do is look at the root of the tree. That's what we need to do. And the issue is that we don't want to do that because what we end up doing really is it's like a foreign country to us. The problem is like a foreign country to us. And when you live in a certain country and you don't live in that foreign country, you don't know much about that foreign country. So what are you going to solve? What are you going to do? It's a foreign country. You don't know it. That's what foreign is, right? The reality is that the issue is a lot closer to home. A lot closer to home. The issue is egoism. And as long as we say that the issue is with this leader or that leader, we won't realize that the issue is actually within us as well. So instead of saying it's in a foreign country, the problem, metaphorically, it's in a foreign country, we will never understand that the issue is closer to home. And that's why I'm so sick of all this condemning that's going on. Yeah, I also don't like what's going on. Really, I hate it. But I hate the problem. I hate the problem. Because I want to get rid of the problem so it never happens again. Instead of blaming one man or one country when it's always someone else. It's like an endless game. That's what we've been doing. Where's it gotten us? Blame this country, blame this person. Okay, yeah, let's condemn them. Okay, sanctions, this and that. All right. A few years later, another problem. A few years later, another problem. And that's just on the grand scale. What happens on a personal scale? Every day we have these issues. Every day there's someone suffering because of evil. Is evil not as bad when it's just one person against another person? No, you can even say it's even worse because no one sees it, no one's helping.
Yeah.
The issue is a lot closer to home and it exists in each and every one of us. The issue is egoism. And as long as we do not accept this problem, we'll never come up with a solution for it. The problem is at home. The problem is inside of you and it's inside of me, it's inside of all of us. We are inherently flawed. We cannot care about something that doesn't affect us. We have to understand this problem. We have to understand, otherwise it's always going to be this is mine and this is yours. And that's what we preach. We always preach like we should have one world, one love, and everyone should be the same. But we don't recognize why we can't get to that. And why we can't get to that is because we're egotistical and we have the egoism which makes me say what's mine is mine and what's yours is yours.
How would you help people to identify that in themselves? On the personal scale?
Actually, going through our videos will do that. Really. And I say that in the most genuine way possible because the way that you do that is by seeking truth, by cause and effect.
Okay.
Because so long as you look at a certain situation and you look at the branches and the fruit that it produces, what's going to change? Nothing. And you're not going to understand it. By seeking truth, by analyzing things, you'll actually start seeing this. You don't have to believe me. You don't have to trust me in what I say. You don't have to trust Connor in what he says. All you have to do is actually analyze situations. Instead of taking things at face value, like people will say, this man is evil, actually look into it. And look into everything that goes on.
There's actually one thing you said in the previous video, dig. Like,
dig
into the problem. Like, actually, don't just look at the problem as it is. Actually, dig under surface value. And until then, when you've reached the depths of where you need to reach, then you can make, not a judgment exactly, because you've arrived at the truth.
Yeah.
But unless you do the digging and actually stop just taking the face value, which is all it is. You're looking at a picture of a person, that's what you're making an assumption of, but go behind it. Dig into why that person went down that particular, or ended up on that particular branch, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
Rather than looking at the actual tree and going to the root of it and saying, like, okay, well, what led him to do that? What mindset did he have here, here, and here that led him to here? Because then you're going to get a much better understanding of here, yeah, of where you are now. And I don't just mean on the grand scale, between you and I, between me and whoever, like, dig, like, actually ask you, that's what you're saying, like, actually ask the questions, like, find out more, don't just stop at.
Yeah, because we need to understand that the root exists inside of all of us. No man has ever gone without hurting someone else in one way or another. There's different types of hurting, but we want to get rid of pain and suffering, don't we? We want to get rid of wars. We want to get rid of, well, there's wars between people. Daily. How is it any different? It's a war between people. We just, instead of throwing missiles, we throw words. We still hurt. Still the same thing. It's the same thing. And then it starts escalating. And words become bullets and knives.
And it grows and it grows.
Grows and it grows and it grows. Yeah.